What if the most iconic car of the 1950s wasn't just a symbol of style, but a secret blueprint for the future of driving? The 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air wasn't just about tail fins and chrome. Beneath its flashy exterior hid a machine packed with innovations that were shockingly ahead of their time. While most cars back then were still stuck in the basics, manual everything, dim headlights, and tech straight out of the 1940s, Chevrolet dared to leap forward. Automatic features, air suspension, fuel injection, all in a car that looked like a rockabilly dream on the outside but whispered quiet rebellion under the hood. Today, the Bel Air is remembered as a nostalgic showstopper. But back in 1957, it was a technological gamble. A risky bet that blended luxury, performance, and future-focused design in ways few competitors could touch. Some of its features wouldn't become mainstream for another 30 or even 40 years. Others were so bold, they flopped, only to be revived decades later in modern luxury cars. So how did this classic beauty sneak so far ahead of its time? And why do most people have no idea just how groundbreaking it really was? Let's break down the secrets hiding beneath the surface of the 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air, and why this car might just be the most misunderstood icon of the American auto industry. 1. Gold trim. The status symbol that wasn't just paint. At first glance, it just looked flashy. Gold trim glinting under the sun, lining the hood, grille, and tail of the Bel Air like jewelry. Most people assumed it was just fancy paint, some kind of showy accent for attention. But Chevrolet wasn't cutting corners with illusions. That golden shine? It was real anodized aluminum, not paint. A premium process that chemically altered the surface to create a rich metallic finish that didn't just look expensive, it was. This wasn't about vanity. It was strategy. Chevrolet knew the car market in the late 50s was brutal. Every brand was throwing chrome around like confetti. So Chevy took a different route, gold. Instantly eye-catching, unmistakably upscale, and completely different from what Ford or Plymouth were doing. It turned heads and whispered class without needing a badge to say it. And it worked. The gold accents told everyone this wasn't just another car, it was the car. A rolling status symbol. A bold flex without the noise. Back when chrome was common and subtlety was rare, the Bel Air didn't just shine. It gleamed like a crown jewel. This was Chevy's way of saying, you've made it, and doing it with aluminum and attitude. 2. Electronic eye, sci-fi tech in the 50s. In a time when seatbelts were optional and technology meant a push-button radio, the 1957 Bel Air quietly introduced something that felt like science fiction. The electronic eye. Mounted right on the dashboard like a tiny robot, this photoelectric sensor scanned the road ahead. When it saw headlights from oncoming traffic, it dimmed your high beams, automatically. No switches, no fiddling, no distractions. Think about that for a second. In 1957, most drivers were still wrestling with manual everything. Yet here was a Chevy with a feature that predicted today's smart cars. It was subtle. It didn't beep or flash. But it worked, well, most of the time. Sure, it occasionally got fooled by street lamps or reflective signs, but the point was clear. Chevrolet was pushing boundaries no one else in the mass market dared to touch. This wasn't luxury tech reserved for Cadillacs or foreign imports. It was available on a Bel Air, a car your neighbor could own. It was a glimpse into the future, tucked inside a vehicle that looked like it belonged on a 1950s postcard. And while most people didn't even know what it was back then, it quietly helped shape what cars would become: smarter, safer, and more aware of the world around them. 3. Tubeless tires, a life-saving upgrade nobody noticed. Out of all the flashy upgrades on the 57 Bel Air, this one didn't sparkle. It didn't get mentioned in ads or plastered across dealership posters. But it might have been one of the most important changes Chevrolet ever made: tubeless tires. Today, we take them for granted. But in the 1950s, most cars still relied on inner tubes, a fragile setup that could turn a nail in the road into a sudden, violent blowout. Dangerous? Absolutely. Especially at highway speeds, where a split-second tire failure could mean disaster. But Chevrolet wasn't content with good enough. With the Bel Air, Chevy rolled out tubeless tires as standard equipment for the first time. No upcharge. No gimmick. Just a quieter, safer innovation that gave drivers a better shot at staying in control when things went wrong. If a tubeless tire got punctured, it didn't explode. It held air long enough to pull over safely. Simple. Smart. Life-saving. And here's the kicker: many of Chevrolet's competitors didn't catch up for years. While other brands were still patching up flats and praying for smooth roads, the Bel Air was already rolling into the future. quietly reducing accidents and rewriting what drivers expected from their tires. 4. Power Pack, the hidden hot rod. To the average passerby, the 1957 Bel Air looked like a classy cruiser, white wall tires, polished trim, maybe a dash of gold. But under that smooth skin, Chevy had planted a secret weapon. For just $135 extra, you could check a little box on the order sheet called the Power Pack, and suddenly, your polite family car turned into a full-blown street sleeper. That small upgrade unleashed a serious transformation. Out went the basic 2-barrel carburetor, and in came a 4-barrel. The compression ratio got bumped. Dual exhausts replaced the single pipe. And just like that, the standard 162 horsepower climbed to a potent 220. By today's numbers, that might sound modest, but in the late 50s, that kind of power was muscle car territory. No stripes. No hood scoop. No loud branding. The Bel Air didn't need to shout. It just moved, fast. You could take the kids to school in the morning, then embarrass a Ford at the stoplight that night. It was elegance with bite. Chevy never made a big fuss about it. They let the numbers speak. And the drivers who ordered the Power Pack? They knew what they had. It was raw speed hiding in plain sight, a quiet beast with a bow tie on the grill. 5. Electrical system, the invisible innovation. It wasn't flashy. It didn't sparkle like the trim or roar like the Power Pack. But buried deep in the bones of the 57 Bel Air was a change that quietly transformed the entire driving experience, a brand new 12-volt electrical system. Before this, most American cars, including Chevys, were still clinging to old 6-volt setups. And they worked, barely. Weak headlights, sluggish starters, and radio static were just part of the deal. Cold mornings? Forget it. You were lucky if the engine turned over at all. But Chevrolet didn't just tweak things, they doubled the power. Literally. With the 12V system, headlights finally lit up the road. Starters kicked with confidence. Accessories like power windows, radios, and even early power wipers suddenly worked like they were supposed to. And maybe more importantly, it laid the foundation for future features that hadn't even been invented yet. It wasn't the kind of upgrade buyers could see. But once they drove it, they felt it. Everything just worked better. More consistent. More modern. And while other automakers would eventually follow, Chevy's quiet electrical revolution in the Bel Air gave it a level of reliability and smoothness that no one was expecting from a car that looked like it belonged in a 50s diner parking lot. 6. Level air suspension, too futuristic for the 50s? In 1957, most people didn't even know what air suspension was. It sounded like something out of a sci-fi comic, hover cars, jetpacks, the works. But Chevy? They were already experimenting with it. The Bel Air offered an option called level air, and it was nothing short of futuristic. Instead of traditional steel springs, this system used rubber airbags at each wheel, pressurized by an onboard compressor. The goal? Maintain a level ride no matter the load, whether you had 5 passengers, a trunk full of luggage, or just one driver cruising solo. It promised a smoother, more balanced ride that adapted in real time. On paper, it was brilliant. In reality? Complicated. The system was expensive to maintain, prone to leaks, and not exactly DIY-friendly. Many owners who opted and ended up ripping it out within a few years, swapping back to good old-fashioned springs. But that doesn't change what it represented. Chevrolet swinging for the fences, trying to bring luxury-level innovation to the average buyer. And here's the twist. Today, air suspension is everywhere. Luxury SUVs, high-end sedans, even sports cars rely on it. But the Bel Air had it nearly 70 years ago. It was a bold idea, just a little too early for its own good. A glimpse of tomorrow, hidden in a car that most people still see as pure nostalgia. 7. Engine variety. 13 different combos. You'd expect this kind of engine variety from a high-end sports car lineup, not a mainstream family car from the 1950s. But in 1957, Chevrolet threw the rulebook out the window. The Bel Air wasn't just one car, it was 13 different cars under the hood. At the base level, you had the bulletproof 235 cubic inch inline-6, smooth and reliable for everyday cruising. But if you wanted more, Chevy didn't hold back. You could choose from multiple versions of the now legendary 265 and 283 V8s, with options ranging from mild 2-barrel setups to fire-breathing, high-compression power pack variants. And then came the real curveball, Rochester Ramjet fuel injection. That's right, fuel injection in 1957. No carburetor, no choke, just direct fuel delivery pushing performance to cutting-edge levels. When paired with the 283 cubic inch V8, it made 283 horsepower. That's 1 horsepower per cubic inch, an engineering milestone that Chevy proudly shouted from the rooftops. For buyers, this wasn't just choice, it was freedom. You could build the Bel Air to fit your exact needs, smooth cruiser, dragstrip demon, or something in between. It was a level of customization almost unheard of in its class, and it gave the Bel Air a personality no competitor could match. Whether you wanted calm or chaos, Chevy had the right engine for you, 13 times over. 8. Sales loss versus cultural victory. Here's the twist no one sees coming. The 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air, the poster child of 1950s American cars, didn't win the sales race. In fact, it lost. That year, Ford outsold Chevrolet. Chevy moved an impressive 1.56 million vehicles across its lineup, including the Bel Air, the 210, and the stripped-down 150. But Ford, with fresher styling and an aggressive marketing blitz, pulled ahead. On paper, it looked like Chevy had fumbled. The numbers said Ford won. But history had other plans. Because while Ford's designs faded into the background over time, the Bel Air became a legend. Its silhouette, those tail fins, that chrome, the unmistakable grille, stuck in the American psyche. The car became a cultural icon, appearing in movies, songs, museums, and collectors' garages. It didn't just survive the sales loss, it transcended it. Why? Because Chevy wasn't just selling cars, they were building symbols. And the Bel Air, with its mix of innovation, elegance, and quiet rebellion, became more than just a car from 1957. It became the car people still dream about. Sometimes the scoreboard lies. In the long run, the Bel Air didn't need to sell the most units, it just needed to leave the biggest impression. And it did. 9. A car that was too far ahead of its time. The 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air is remembered for its looks, but it should be remembered for so much more. Beneath the iconic tail fins and sparkling trim was a car packed with quiet revolutions. Fuel injection in a decade ruled by carburetors. Air suspension when most roads were still rough. Automatic headlight dimming long before smart technology existed. Even tubeless tires and a powerful 12-volt system, things we now consider basic, were bold moves at the time. Chevrolet didn't just build a beautiful car, they built a preview of the future. But here's the irony. Many of these innovations were either overlooked, misunderstood, or years ahead of what the average buyer was ready for. The Bel Air was playing chess while most of the industry was still learning checkers. And maybe that's why it stands out today. It's not just a symbol of the 1950s, it's a reminder that progress doesn't always scream for attention. Sometimes it hums quietly under the hood, or shines in gold trim, or cushions your ride with air. Sometimes, the future hides in plain sight, dressed in chrome and fins. The Bel Air wasn't perfect. It wasn't even the bestseller. But it became something far more rare, unforgettable.